Stand by for the broadcast. Today is August 1st, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging Sea Broadcast System, the Forbidden History Series. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here, because somebody's got to do it. We now interrupt your normally scheduled programming to bring you this very important deprogramming program. So tell your friends. And special thanks to YouTube.com for hosting the Forbidden History Series. Please note that the following views, any opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MMT is a private society. Nothing here is ever to be construed as medical nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time, 7 days a week, right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, twice a day, 7 days a week, 9 a.m., 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. Still time to call your friends, ladies and gentlemen. And hello, Lynn and Rod and Liz and everybody else on there. Can't see all the names on the chat right now, but stand by for the broadcast. You did tell your friends, right? Thank you. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in the heart of Amish country in Central Ohio, and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History Series, the great lies of history, the piracy of words, the words that they killed us with. Review on the books that we need to read, the symbolism, the history of the church, the original gospel, the ABCs of light. It's all right here, ladies and gentlemen. We are the deprogramming program. We've got so much ground to cover, we hardly have the time. But it is the battle for our mind. And the truth is light, but ignorance, it is darkness. And these are the great antagonists, the one against the other. But once we can begin to comprehend the true nature of things, then we will begin to comprehend that there is nothing more to complain about. If we can see the lies, then we will find the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Special tonight, Mind Control in America. It's happening worldwide, but we got the all-time classic by Stephen Jacobson, my good friend, longtime friend, former producer up there in New York. You haven't heard anything yet, okay? You know, the one who doesn't want to know the truth is merely a slave who doesn't want to be free, while all those lies race around the world, while the truth is slowly putting on its shoes. The truth is confident within itself, even when it falls on deaf ears. If you don't know where you're going, any road can get you there, ladies and gentlemen. But you will know the truth, and the truth will make you a fugitive while it sets you free. And welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the Desert Owl, bird who sees in the night, former political activist, one who's gone through the meat grinder, and the whole meat grinder shut down and couldn't grind the meat anymore. So miracles happen, and they're for the better reason that is beyond out of this world, out of this world, ladies and gentlemen. It is a tremendous time that we live in, a time when there's more people than any other time, at least as far as record goes, and yet at the same time, there is more suffering as well, and so it's a great dichotomy where there's people enjoying the bounty of goodness and pleasure and wealth and relaxation and all the let the good times roll, and then you got people every day they wonder where their next meal is going to come from and if they're going to get beaten up or um, what have you, insulted and rejected because of circumstances. Like people really think that they actually chose out their entire life course when obviously we did not put ourselves here. Somebody that had greater interest than we did at putting us here for something greater, not for self-gratification and not for our own entertainment, but to be a lightning rod, a source of hope and the greater potentials. So we could reject the divine wind that blows, or we can realize that there's something more that we need to wrap our minds around. And so, we do have a call-in number if you want to call in with a great life history or some words that you've been looking at, and you want to know if we could spell them correctly here. We can do that. The phone number is 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. And Skype is Free America Radio, all one word, Free America Radio. We can use an instant messenger for your question. If you put your question on the board, then please put the word question in all capital letters, or my name Desert in all capital letters, or request in all capital letters, and then the body of your letter in upper lowercase. But I've got to have something that grabs my attention, okay? And if you're new to our broadcast, then I recommend you start following from our premiere edition on June 21st. This last series of rounds that I'm doing may be the last round on Earth, and okay, but we're doing it, and we're going to do it as long as our world holds out, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not holding out much for our world, okay? It seems to be on the skids. It seems to be, they're closing up shop. Looks like everybody's going underground or something like that. It's just while our skies are as fluky as skies ever could get. Apparently, they're using holograms to block out sections of the sky. That's what it looks like. Literally blocking out sections of the sky. That's what it appears to be. I'm not sure, but we got a lot of sky watchers out there. You tell me, okay? You can give us a report if you captured something on your camera today, or at any time. Then give us a heads up on the program so we can know about your channel and what to look at. Okay, give us the time stamp on it, and we'll pass that information on, because we're everything else, I think, is a diversion, ladies and gentlemen. I think the only thing that matters is what's happening up there. Higher Truth Channel put out a video today that suggested that very possibly the star system has now passed us. We've now passed, the most serious point, and I don't know if he was stating it as a fact or just that it appears. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Okay, that's let's see, Rod, you're saying Desert. What do you think about 5G and cell phone? Do you think it can be a kind of genocide? Yeah, I think it's as as bad as it gets. I think the G5 is strictly for imprisoning us. In other words, it very possibly could be a triangulated a prison. It can be an electrical wall. The frequency could very possibly create a wall. I'm not sure. I don't know how they direct that energy, but it could literally create an invisible fence that, if you try to go through, could kill you, or it could just be that they just crank it up and fry everybody that's within the triangulation of these particular towers. So there ain't nothing good about it. They've never told us the truth. That's what we're talking about is, the great lies of history. Yeah, I know about the planet arrangements, and that's also very interesting. Just a lot of interesting enigmas that are going on. And I have a special presentation I want to do tonight. When I was a political activist, I used to listen to other people's productions, and one of the all-time classics was by a longtime friend of mine now, Stephen Jacobson, who did the all-time classic Wake Up America, exposing the strategy to manipulate your mind. And then also Saturday I'll do Wake Up America, his other all-time classic, Wake Up America, exposing the deception to manipulate money, and what the true nature of money is. Tomorrow night is at 9 o'clock. The first hour we're going to have on Alan David with the introduction to the ancient cult of five and its existence within our modern world. So this is pretty profound. This guy literally found the number 5 everywhere, and it's making a statement. So stay tuned. Okay, we've got interesting stuff coming your way. And before I start my read, it looks like I got one more question there. Did you know about the frequency guy who, as kill all his family after a guy who killed all of his family after new headset transmitter with a bad frequency? No, I'm not familiar with that story at all. I think you broke up your words a little bit, Bear. I think I got the picture. No, I did not hear about that, Rod. But before I start the audio, I just want to do a little opening read that got an interesting sunset, little overcast today here. But I was asked to write a what do you call it? A book review for a book that since I had experience with my political activism. Okay, you're French. Yeah, I saw that you came out of you'll come out of Montreal, and on my mother's side, all my family were French Canadian, and they came out of Montreal and Quebec back like 100 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was. Less than 100. I think it was more like about 80 or 70 years ago. They came out of Montreal into New Jersey, and that's where I crash landed. So, okay, good to have a French Canadian. Hope they're still not mad at you guys for wanting that French label on everything, but that's the way it goes, right? So, okay, so prisons, ladies and gentlemen, we talked a little bit about that, and the mass incarceration of Americans. So let me read. And Rod, you writing back? Yes, happy to know this, like William Shatner. So William Shatner is also French Canadian. Okay. So prisons, a press review. And now, we got more people in prison in America today, ladies and gentlemen, than all the other prisons of the world combined. We've got more people in American prisons than all of the other world combined. Hello, Ninja. Good to have you. So, a press review. This was supposed to be published on the back cover of his book, America's Brutal Prisons. Everyone should be concerned about America's brutal prisons, as from behind the green wall comes out the most powerful expose ever by ex-prison guard DJ Vodka on the worst prison system in the world. They are not built nor intended to rehabilitate, but instead, behind it all lies one of the greatest experiments on human psychology, behavior, slave labor, torture, and mind control. How can it be that the people who are in control today are actually more criminal and more sinister in their behavior than the very people that they are supposed to house and to protect. May God help our helpless prisoners in America today, who are railroaded there, by the way, the majority, who are now reduced to being captured chattel property and legally dead, while approximately 70% of those who are in prison today are actually innocent of having committed any real common law crime or offense against another. They offended the state. They offended the invisible, unknowing Wizard of Oz, the state. No crime committed. They crossed a yellow line that they didn't know was there. Sorry. So now that the real truth is known, who will go after the real criminals who are standing there holding those precious keys over life and death? Thank you, DJ Vodka, our #1 prison guard in America today, now hiding to defend your life, for being so brave and coming out while breaking their code of silence. You are truly an American hero. No American, nor anyone else for that matter, deserves to be tortured. Ever. Desert Owl, survivor of torture. We are all doing time. Free America Radio Network. And so that's what I wrote for the back of his book. And just do a search for DJ Vodka. It's been a long time since I talked to DJ, so I don't know how he's doing or anything, okay? But DJ Vodka, and Vodka is, forgive me, Vodicka, Vodicka, D, first letter D, second middle name J, DJ Vodka, okay? And the book is called America's Brutal Prisons. Okay, he was in the California prison system. After he came out, he had to start carrying a semi-automatic handgun to be ready for being taken out. Okay, because it is the secret societies at the top, always at the top, but they don't let everybody in the game, you see. So you may not have that secret handshake. You may not know how the game is being played, but they do, because they wage all revolutions. They are the controllers of all society. They hate your guts. They'd love to peel off your skin and make a lampshade out of it if they could have their way about it, because they bought into the darkness and not into the light. And therefore they have to get as drunk as they can in their insane psychopathic world. It must take a lot to cover the indecent torture that they have inflicted on our world. A lot of drugs, a lot of denial, and a lot of death. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, from my good friend Stephen Jacobson, further, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Mind control in America. And if somebody can give me a audio check when I turn this on, because I'm going to, I'm going to have to boost my audio off the desktop, and I'm going to mute out the audio from my speakers and my microphone, and I'm going to hope that it works. So Lynn, or anyone that wants to give me a heads up, just let me know how this audio goes once I start. Okay, this is a rather profound short presentation, and so I'd love to get your feedback. Okay, so stand by for the broadcast. The website is mindcontrolinamerica.com, but I don't think you can get this audio there anymore. Okay, it's mindcontrolinamerica.com. Stephen doesn't produce it anymore. So here you go. You get it right here first. You can share it with your friends. Mindcontrolinamerica.com, exposing the manipulation of your mind.
Psychological warfare has been waged against America for much of this century. This war for the mind of the public has been facilitated by the emergence of mass media and the transformation of American education by behavioral psychologists. In the book 1984, George Orwell warned that people were in danger of losing their human qualities and freedom of mind without being aware of it while it was happening because of psychological, emotional, and intellectual manipulation. Mind control. Mind control in America. The most effective way to protect yourself from subconscious manipulation is by being aware of how it works. What the conscious mind believes, the subconscious acts on. It works like programming a computer. Information is fed into a computer, and the computer acts on it. However, if the information fed into the computer is wrong, it still acts on it. If a person believes something that is not true, the memory banks of the subconscious mind do not correct the error, but act on it. The theory of cognitive dissonance holds that the mind automatically and involuntarily rejects information not in line with previously accepted thoughts and beliefs. Many of the things that people believe are never questioned, especially when the information has come from a reliable source. It becomes easy to lose sight of why people believe some of the things that they do.
Unser Führer, Adolf Hitler, sich.
People can be led to believe something that is not true when that information is carefully timed and presented by an accepted and respected authority. The purpose of propaganda is to direct public attention to certain facts.
The whole art consists in doing this so skillfully that everyone will be convinced that the fact is real,
wrote Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf. To be effective, propaganda must constantly short-circuit all conscious thinking and operate on the individual subconsciously. The principles behind the big lie of propaganda are the same principles of mind control, hypnotic suggestion, mental programming, distraction, and repetition. Distraction focuses the attention of the conscious mind on one or more of the five senses in order to stop conscious thinking, thus producing a state of mind that is similar to daydreaming. Think of the times you have caught yourself staring blankly at the television screen, losing all sense of time and place. When you stop conscious thinking and your mind goes blank, this is the hypnotic state of mind. This altered state occurs naturally, but can also be induced by clever manipulation. Think of the times you have seen flashing words in TV commercials. The flashing words are a distraction for your eyes to lock onto in order to induce hypnosis. The purpose of this is to reduce any resistance to the message by stopping all thought and analysis. Watching television often produces an altered state of consciousness. Though not consciously perceived, the television screen, while appearing static, actually flickers. Any repeating light or sound pattern can lead you into an altered state. A hypnotist uses patterned speech by varying the pacing and inflection of his voice to induce this state of mind in his subject. It is in this state of mind where one is the most receptive to mental programming. Whether or not the information takes hold in the mind depends on two factors: trust in the source of the information and repetition of the message. Trust in the source of the information induces acceptance of the message as true, even if it is not understood. Repetition of the message embeds it in the subconscious so that acceptance of its truth and accuracy becomes a conditioned response. Thus, this information will be accepted as true without thinking about it whenever it is presented again. Subliminal perception is the process whereby you receive and respond to visual and sound information without being aware of it. the message in the form of printed words, pictures, or voices is presented either so rapidly or so faintly that you are not consciously aware of having seen or heard anything. In 1957, marketing researcher and psychologist James Vickery tested subliminal ads in a New Jersey movie theater. The messages,
hungry, eat popcorn,
and
drink Coca-Cola,
were flashed on the screen at 1/3000th of a second every 5 seconds during the movie. Sales increased for popcorn and Coca-Cola. Every major advertising agency in North America has sponsored extensive research into subliminal perception. Vance Packard's 1957 book, The Hidden Persuaders, revealed that American industry was researching the use of subliminal messages to motivate people to buy their products. Dr. Wilson Bryan Key has documented in 4 books the widespread use of subliminal ads by the advertising industry. Messages programmed directly to the subconscious bypass critical analysis and the conscious choice to accept or reject the message. Repetition of the message constitutes mental programming. Subliminal messages have been used in music, radio, television, and movies. In November 1957, TV station WTWO in Bangor, Maine, experimented with projecting a subliminal message on television. In 1958, radio station KOL in Seattle broadcast subliminal messages under the music played by its disc jockeys.
How about a cup of coffee?
Was one, and another was,
someone's at the door.
The movie The Exorcist used both subliminal sounds and pictures. A full-screen death mask of Father Karras was flashed on the screen at 1/48th of a second a number of times during the movie. The consciously unnoticed word pig appeared many times throughout the movie. The terrified squealing of pigs being slaughtered and the buzzing sound of angry bees was mixed into the soundtrack. Laboratory experiments show that people will react to certain words, pictures, and sounds with quickened pulse, faster breathing, sweating palms, and other indications of heightened emotions. People actually fainted in response to this movie. Many became nauseous, and many had nightmares. William Peter Blatty, the author of the novel and producer of the movie, was a CIA operative who served as the policy branch chief of the Psychological Warfare Division of the United States Air Force.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
On October 30th, 1938, thousands of people fled from a crisis that had no existence except in their imaginations. A radio broadcast of a dramatization of H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds led thousands of listeners to believe that the planet Earth had been invaded by Martians. The 1983 TV movie Special Bulletin about terrorists exploding an atomic bomb in Charleston, South Carolina, prompted numerous calls to stations across America from people who wanted to know if it was real. In both instances, despite disclaimers, people thought they were listening to an authentic newscast. Think for a moment about the way newscasters speak, and you will realize that they all talk the same way, regardless of their ethnic background. Whether they be black, white, Hispanic, or Oriental, with few exceptions, they all sound alike. The patterned speech of a newscaster is similar to that of a hypnotist. The eye contact made with the viewer is also used by the hypnotist. Emotions can be stirred, attitudes and states of mind revealed by nuances of tone and variation in vocal quality. The camera can reveal the smallest movement of the most subtle change of expression and give it significance and definition. With the selective use of camera angles and judicious cutting, It is simple to distort the meaning of what someone says, not only by cutting out statements, but by cutting in a reaction shot or by adding laughter or applause. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but it can also deceive one into believing something that is not true. The practice of staging events and employing impersonators of political figures was often used by the early newsreel companies. The capacity to lie with a picture and be undetected has been greatly enhanced by modern computer technology. Is it possible that all verbal and nonverbal communication has been identified, defined, and reduced to a code that can be manipulated? Is it possible to program an entire population to respond to certain words, images, vocal qualities, body movements, gestures, and expressions? The result of such programming would be a population that is highly suggestible, a population that can be manipulated with precision. '60s rock superstar Jimi Hendrix said,
"You can hypnotize people with music, and when you get them at their weakest point, you can preach into their subconscious whatever you want to say."
The power of music has been recognized throughout history. Plato and Aristotle believed that people could be controlled by music. Music affects the emotions, the mind, and the body. Sound causes changes in body chemistry, blood pressure, breathing, and digestion. Fast music will speed up the nervous system, while slow music will slow it down. The entire body is sensitive to sound. Low tones will vibrate in the lower parts of the body, and high tones will vibrate in the higher portions and on into the head. Even sounds that cannot be heard affect you. Low-frequency infrasonic sounds affect the internal organs and can cause headaches, nausea, dizziness, and fatigue. Much of today's popular rock music is built around a heavy bass pattern louder than the melody. These loud, low-frequency vibrations and the driving beat of most rock music affect the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland produces hormones that control male and female sexual responses. These low-frequency vibrations vibrate in the lower parts of the body so that the music feels good. Though the message of some rock music is thoughtful and positive, the message of many rock videos and the music, particularly heavy metal, is a negative mental program that glorifies violence and deviant behavior. A visit to your local record store to check the lyrics on the back of the albums will reveal recurring themes preoccupied with violence, rape, sadomasochism, suicide, illicit sex, drug and alcohol abuse, fascination with the occult, and in some instances, race antagonism. Backward masking, where a message is spoken or sung that intentionally means something else when played backwards, has been used in some rock music since the Beatles first used the technique. The subconscious can decode and read messages spoken or sung backwards. When played backwards, the song "Miss Me Blind" by Culture Club repeats the message, "Be in sin when you're not," over and over again. First, listen to the music cut played forwards.
I know you miss me. I know you miss me. I know you miss me, love. I know you miss me. I know you miss me. I know you miss me, love.
Played backwards, the message is, "Be in sin when you're not." The use of backward masking may be far more extensive than anyone suspects. There are literally hundreds of examples and a disturbing proliferation of satanic messages. For example, from the album Raising Hell by Run DMC, Listen to the music cut played forwards. Played backwards, the message is Hail Satan. It is important to note that the lyrics of many rock songs are not clearly distinguishable consciously. When you do not hear the message clearly, you cannot make the conscious choice to accept or reject it. When you cannot make that choice, or when that choice is taken away from you, the message is programmed to your subconscious without your being aware of it. The repeating beat of the music is a distraction for the conscious mind to lock onto in order to stop conscious thinking, thus causing the hypnotic state of mind, a state of mind that is similar to daydreaming. Repetition of the message constitutes mental programming. In time, the effects of this kind of programming will appear. These effects can be physical, psychological, and emotional.
No!
Numerous motion pictures have precipitated violence over the years. The Warriors, one of a number of movies about street gangs, was followed by a rash of violence in cities across the nation. Approximately 28 people died playing Russian roulette in response to seeing The Deer Hunter. The press reported that John Hinckley Jr. told his attorneys that the idea to assassinate President Reagan came to him after seeing the movie Taxi Driver. A report released in 1982 by the National Institute of Mental Health said,
Violence on television does lead to aggressive behavior by children and teenagers who watch the programs.
Dr. Thomas Narut from the U.S. Naval Hospital at NATO headquarters in Naples investigated the use of film to train servicemen who were not inclined to kill to be able to do so. Films were screened which showed people being maimed or killed violently to desensitize the men to those acts. A progressively more graphic depiction of violence in movies, television, and music desensitizes people, especially young people, to real-life violence and increases tension, anxiety, and fear among older people who perceive increasing lawlessness and the breakdown of society. A University of Massachusetts study of crime programs on television reveals that law enforcement officers are often shown breaking and entering illegally, failing to inform suspects of their rights, terrorizing and coercing witnesses, and accepting bribes. Constitutional guarantees are regarded as bothersome technicalities that hinder the police in the performance of their duty. Professors Catch and Ahrens, who conducted the study, said,
Police shows seem to reduce the ordinary citizen's awareness of constitutional rights and responsibilities. Many people engrossed in the drama of rapid-fire action or preoccupied with violence fail even to notice blatant police-state tactics.
The Supreme Court has consistently expanded police powers and governmental authority while curtailing individual rights, thus enacting into law principles much like those presented on TV crime programming. The relationship between the increase in crime and the decrease in individual rights is a classic example of the Hegelian principle of bringing about change in a three-step process. The first step is to create a problem. The problem in this case is the increase in crime brought about in part by mass media programming of criminal behavior, making violence an acceptable means of problem solving, especially among young people. The second step is to create opposition to the problem. In other words, create anxiety and fear in the public so that people demand that something be done about it. The third step is to offer the solution to the problem that may entail a restriction of individual rights or some other predetermined goal, thus bringing about change that would have been impossible to impose on people without proper psychological conditioning. By causing emotional stress and mental confusion, judgment is impaired and suggestibility increased. Under these conditions, people allow their rights to be diminished without realizing its ramifications. The war on drugs is another example of this strategy in action. In 1936, a movie used hypnotic suggestion to give the audience instructions to do something. That movie was Reefer Madness. This movie used hypnotic techniques to both encourage marijuana use and promote anti-marijuana legislation. Speaking to a PTA meeting, high school principal Dr. Carroll commands parents,
"You and all the school parent groups about the country, and you must stand united on this and stamp out this frightful assassin of our youth. You can do it by bringing about compulsory education on the subject of narcotics in general, the dread marijuana in particular." That is the purpose of this meeting, ladies and gentlemen, to lay the foundation for a nationwide campaign by you to demand by law such compulsory education.
When Dr. Carroll begins to speak, he raises a sheet of paper in front of him and reads certain facts from it. The white sheet of paper prominent in the middle of the screen is a distraction for the eyes to lock onto in order to cause the hypnotic state of mind while information is programmed to the audience verbally. Dr. Carroll delivers his lines with a hypnotic rhythm that is punctuated by changes in pacing, volume, and tone, just like a hypnotist. He speaks with authority and looks into the camera and into the eyes of the audience. Both are hypnotic techniques. Picture yourself in a movie theater. Now imagine a huge face on the screen staring at you. The stated intent of Reefer Madness was to stamp out the menace of marijuana because it leads to, quote, acts of shocking violence ending often in incurable insanity, end quote. In contrast, young people are shown having a good time smoking marijuana, dancing, kissing, and retreating to the bedroom. By showing young people having a good time smoking marijuana, Reefer Madness encouraged young people to at least try it. By telling the story of normal kids going berserk because of marijuana, Reefer Madness scared older people into demanding that something be done. This movie was part of a well-orchestrated propaganda campaign that included newspapers, magazines, and radio. In 1937, about a year after the release of the movie, the Marijuana Tax Act was signed into law, with a major effect being to drive prices up for marijuana to make its cultivation and distribution profitable. Bertrand Russell, philosopher, educator, and atheist, wrote in his book, The Impact of Science on Society,
I think the subject which will be of most importance politically is mass psychology. Its importance has been enormously increased by the growth of modern methods of propaganda. Although this science will be diligently studied, it will be rigidly confined to the governing class. The populace will not be allowed to know how its convictions were generated.
There could be no effective propaganda without mass media. Former national editor at the Washington Post and dean of the Graduate School of Journalism at the University of California at Berkeley, Ben Bedikian, reported in his book, The Media Monopoly, published in 1983, that 50 corporations controlled most of America's media. When the second edition of the book was published in 1988, that number shrank to 29, In the third edition, published in 1990, the number shrank further to 26. The consolidation of ownership of the press, publishing, radio, television, and film makes the coordination of propaganda possible. The primary means for controlling people is the absolute control of information. Men in power often withhold information for selfish ends. They often present false information as a diversion for the same reason. Words can inform or misinform. What people think can be controlled by controlling information. Schools are institutions commanding trust, respect, and confidence. Picture a child studying in school, reading a book. The printed words are a distraction for the eyes to lock onto. The mind focuses on the content of the book. The information being read is being programmed to the reader's mind. The child has no reason to believe that a book would intentionally contain information that was false, and so accepts it as true, even if the child does not understand it. This is especially true in school, where there is pressure to accept what is presented as true, because that is expected, and compliance determines both your grade marks and future. Repetition of the information constitutes mental programming. Thus, this information is accepted as true without thinking about it whenever it is presented again. The college textbook, Introductory Psychology, 2nd edition, by Jonathan L. Friedman, published by Addison Wesley Publishing Company, contains information that is false. This textbook, used for General Psychology Course 221 at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, fall semester 1982, says the following about brainwashing.
Some people who talk about brainwashing seem to believe that it involves extremely powerful methods that are almost irresistible. However, there is no evidence to suggest the existence of any such methods. In fact, the attempts at brainwashing we know about were not especially successful.
This is contrary to numerous documented reports, both academic and governmental, particularly official findings regarding brainwashing of POWs in Korea. There could be no effective propaganda without education. In the early 1900s, there began a dramatic shift in emphasis in American education from intellectual development to socialization. The goals of education became political and social rather than academic. This was due in large part to John Dewey, who denied the existence of God and moral absolutes. As a result, the concept of right and wrong was removed from the schools, leading to a multitude of problems witnessed today. Professor Dewey based his educational reforms on the experimental psychology developed at Leipzig University by Wilhelm Wundt. Professor Wundt believed that man had no spirit. In his view, man was only a stimulus response animal. This kind of thinking led to the principles of conditioning developed by Ivan Pavlov and behavioral psychologists John Watson and B.F. Skinner. As a result, schools became indoctrination centers designed to bring about a new social order. Education of the young is used to condition them to what comes later, thereby eliminating the difference between propaganda and education. The mind is conditioned with vast amounts of information disguised as facts and knowledge and dispensed for ulterior motives. According to the minute books of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, the Carnegie Endowment, the Ford Foundation, the Guggenheim Foundation, and the Rockefeller Foundation worked in harmony for the control of education in America. The key to their plan to bring about social change was to alter the teaching of American history. The Guggenheim Foundation agreed to provide fellowships for doctoral candidates of American history selected by the Carnegie Endowment. 20 prospective teachers were assembled and taken to London to be briefed on what was expected of them. This group of historians became the nucleus of the American Historical Association.
Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past,
wrote George Orwell. Norman Dodd, research director for the Special Committee to investigate tax-exempt foundations created by the 83rd Congress, was invited in November 1953 to meet in New York with Roman Gaither, president of the Ford Foundation. Mr. Gaither made a most revealing admission.
Mr. Dodd, we operate here under directives which emanate from the White House. The substance of the directives under which we operate is that we shall use our grant-making power to alter life in the United States so that we can be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union.
In his book, Brainwashing in the High Schools, Professor E. Merrill Root examines 11 history textbooks used in the Evanston Township High School in Evanston, Illinois from 1950 to 1952. None of these textbooks makes it clear that the government of the United States is not a democracy but a republic. The Founding Fathers defined the form of government they established as a constitutional republic. Not one of these textbooks lists the word republic in its index. The essence of psychological warfare is to confuse the meaning of words and infiltrate the mind with conflicting concepts. These textbooks interpret American history primarily as a class conflict between the rich and the poor, a Marxist doctrine. A trend shared by each of the textbooks reviewed was advocacy of a world government. And these textbooks are typical of the approved history taught in schools over the past 40 years. 19th century British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli commented that the world is governed by very different people from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes. Political and economic power is concentrated in the hands of a ruling elite that controls the banks, large corporations, major communications media, influential foundations. In fact, their power encompasses all segments of society. Their goal is to return the world to serfdom with themselves as controllers of world affairs. Founded in 1921, the Council of Foreign Relations, located in New York City, is the American branch of a society that originated in England and is a key link between the ruling elite and the federal government. The Council has been called the Establishment, the Invisible Government, and the Rockefeller Foreign Office. Council members have held and continue to hold key government positions. Administrations, both Democrat and Republican, may change, but the Council of Foreign Relations remains to work its will from behind the scenes. The creation of the United Nations was a Council project, as well as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. The goal of the Council is the establishment of a world government. On the international level, an organization similar to the Council called the Bilderbergers includes some of the world's most powerful financiers, industrialists, politicians, and intellectuals who meet each year for a conference on world affairs to decide how things will go for the rest of us. The goal of the Bilderbergers is the establishment of a world government. World government was always the goal of communism. The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 was a turning point in world history. However, the revolution was financed by some of the world's richest and most powerful men. The money came primarily from America and Great Britain. Communism was forced on the Russian people from outside of Russia. Soviet economic and military development has been the result of the transfer of Western technology from Western companies allowed and encouraged by Western governments, principally the United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, and Italy. Communism was a movement created and manipulated by some of the world's most powerful and wealthy men in order to gain control of the world. While the communist world is becoming more like the West, America is going in the opposite direction. The political concepts of the United States have undergone a gradual alteration in order to promote administrative government by appointed bureaucrats rather than the constitutionally mandated representative government by elected officials. A network of organizations headquartered at what is called 1313 at the University of Chicago have been working to restructure local, state, and federal government. 1313 affiliates developed the regional framework to merge city-county government, then county district, district-state, state-region, and on to a region-international merger into a one-world government. The program of these social science organizations is a totally managed and controlled society. Centralization of government functions is a basic socialist principle. Centralization takes government away from the people. The key factor is control. The computer-based planning, programming, and budgeting system is the mechanism for that control. This system was promoted as a modern space-age method for budgeting and accounting, but it is used to achieve behavioral objectives designed to capture the decision-making process of government. Systematic management and control of society replaces self-government. The use of social engineering to control what people think makes a mockery of the informed consent of the governed, the very cornerstone of the Constitution. The conditioning of the mind is not a legitimate function of government. It is the hallmark of tyranny. The dramatic events taking place in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe are part of a carefully orchestrated propaganda campaign designed to condition the people of the world to accept the eventual merging of East and West into a one-world superstate. A one-world government means the loss of national sovereignty for the United States. All areas of our culture have been corrupted in order to promote this program, and psychological warfare is being waged against the public to accept it, and even demand some of the changes necessary to bring about a new dark age on this planet. The plan is as old as history, with its modern manifestation having reared its ugly head in 1776 when Adam Weishaupt, professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt in Bavaria, founded the Order of the Illuminati, the Enlightened Ones. The goal of the Illuminati was the creation of a new world order. This was to be accomplished by infiltrating all areas of society and destroying civilization from within. The public has been deluded about the material aims of a few and the very existence of the hidden rulers who sit at the very pinnacle of power and see themselves as lords of this planet. The purpose of government is inexorably tied to the purpose of life. The sum of good government is knowledge of the purpose of life and the administration of society towards that goal. If the men in leadership positions in the world do not know the objective of life, then they are not capable of administering a peaceful society. If, however, they do know, then what we see happening in the world is the deliberate attempt to undermine the primary objective of life. The missing dimension in world politics is the spiritual dimension. The problems of life cannot be solved by material means. Modern civilization is missing the point of life. Human life is meant for understanding spiritual values. Real knowledge is knowing yourself, what you are, what God is, and understanding your relationship and duty to God. It is our duty to understand God, abide by His laws, and learn to love Him. Then, all of our problems will be solved. When men are not governed by God, they will be ruled by tyrants. The material world is just like a prison. The spirit soul is imprisoned in a material body which is imprisoned in the material world. We do not belong in this material world. We are spirit souls and belong to the spiritual world. Modern civilization is wrongly directed to the fulfillment of sense gratification, the basis of material life and a barrier to spiritual realization. The demonic believe that the enjoyment of the senses is the ultimate goal of life. However, it is not possible to become peaceful and happy in the attempt to gratify the temporary senses. The result is usually the opposite. A materialistic culture based on sense gratification agitates the mind and senses. Unless one controls the mind and senses, one cannot make any spiritual advancement. The great sages of all bona fide religions were completely free of material attachments because they knew that spirit is permanent while matter is temporary. Our present culture would have us debase ourselves and become more and more entangled in materialism so that the path to the spiritual world is blocked. The demonic wish to make this planet a closed system where it cannot function for the purpose it was intended. The material world was created to give man the opportunity to purify himself of his material consciousness, for the aim of life is to go back home, back to God. The demonic cannot go back home until they rid themselves of their demonic mentality, and so they wish to make it impossible for anyone else to return home. This is the ultimate goal of psychological warfare: to entangle man in materialism so that he cannot return home, back to the Supreme Lord. Mind control in America. Break it.
Mind Control in America, written and produced by Stephen Jacobson, MCIA Media, Post Office Box 15734, Winston-Salem, North Carolina 27113.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, Mind Control in America. That address that was given out is obsolete now. So like I say, I don't think you can get anything off of Stephen's site anymore, but you can check it out. Go to mindcontrolinamerica.com. Okay, and his other all-time classic, Wake Up America, Exposing the Deception of Modern Money, will be Saturday. I'll play that at Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, okay? And so rather classic. Imagine he produced that without a computer, okay? The computers we have today, you know, people can do. He did that before the home PC computer. He was a master at seeing. He saw in New York how they manipulated our psyche with commercials or with the the special effects, the special shots. they could create anything they want on the TV. You wouldn't know if it were true or if it were not. They figured this out a long time ago, and Stephen, such a noble character, walked away from it all up in New York, from the big money and all the prestige, and he came and exposed it with these two all-time classics. His father was a hypnotist, and therefore he had a special connection with the psychology of the mind that helped him out. Okay, and you're welcome, Liz. And yeah, profound. I've played this at least 50 times on my broadcasting, and I've never gotten tired of it. I feel like I gain something or hear something for the first time every time I play it. So I'll play it again in the future. So hopefully Stephen will be on soon. I told Stephen that I'd be glad to afford him some of my airtime to talk about these issues of mind control and spirituality. He's a very spiritually deep individual in his own right. Okay, so thank you, Stephen, and hope he's doing well. He's been toughing it out. He obviously walked away from a big retirement and everything, and so there's a price to pay for everything. So we're on the Pirate Sea of Words now, and I want to talk, continuing on the we're in letter F now, and we're at fair trial. And that's the thing, we all would like to get is a fair trial. But the Lysander Spooner, who was an intellectual genius in his own right in the 1800s, even invented his own postal system that went against the government system, and they shut him down. But he wrote, what was that, an all-time classic about, drug abuse, vices are not crimes. Vices are not crimes. And, they made crimes out of vices, right? Like smoking pot, and you're welcome. You're welcome, Ninja. Good. Glad you enjoyed it. Vices are not crimes. So what Lysander was pointing out, that people who engaged in alcohol or drugs of any sort, they're not criminals. They're people that have a right to still, live their lives and to work out their problems. Everybody has a right to work out their problem as long as they don't hurt anybody else, right? But now, you can, how many decades has it been? Half a century or longer with people just smoking a joint. They've been, literally had their lives destroyed because they just wanted to be at peace and, and feel good. It's not, this is not an endorsement of, marijuana or anything else. It is just strictly stating certain points of fact, So fair trial, as we go through the piracy of words. So fair trial, in today's parlance, actually means a show trial, and it's pay or stay. You got the moolah, okay? Then the judge, you can get the judge $10,000 on the side, and everything will be copacetic. You know what I mean? Pay or stay. Fay or flay. See kangaroo, the secret signs along the way. Yeah, the yellow brick road. False flag operation. Now that's one people have to wrap their mind around, isn't it? False flag operation. 1, business as usual. 2, murder of innocent victims in a staged government-sponsored event in order to advance some form of political agenda. See Hegelian dialectic, FBI. Oh, they're the ones who pretty well create those false flags, aren't they? I think so. Well, let's find out more about them. FBI, World Federation Security. There you go. The FBI are World Federation Security, compartmentalized with cells that engage in staged false flag events. See false flag operation. And we should add, they are actually the right-hand agents. A foreign unregistered agent, should add, a foreign unregistered agent. Okay, under the auspices of the Federal Reserve. And thank you, Rod, as well, for listening in. So, Fed, there's a big misconception about Fed because they think that the United States government was federal, but the Federalist Papers were all antithetical to the principles that America was supposedly being founded upon. and that was where the front line was. You know, it was against the nationalists with the Republic versus the Federalists with the Federalist Papers, and you know, but the Fed implies the world, you know, federation, the World Federation, because it is, you know, that's what it really is. That's the one doing all the damage. The World Federation is the one that's spraying our skies universally in every nation of our world. It's the World Federation. It's not about federal DC government, okay? It's not. It's a World Federation, and they're the ones spraying our skies. And Ninja, you're saying I agree, Desert, in saying that I allowed drug use to nearly kill me. All or nothing, right? Okay, nothing to laugh about. So so glad you made it through all that, Ninja. It's a tough world to make it through, and we're all survivors on some level. So so the Fed, they fade in the shadows. 2, the phase death. 3, acronym for World Federation. 4, often used to refer to the Federal Reserve Bank beast system, the Fed. Are you fed up yet? Are we fed up? Did they feed us enough of their papal bull to last a lifetime and a death? Federal Reserve, a federal reservation. Ask any Indian. Have you made yours yet? C, free Leonard Peltier, the longest held political prisoner on the planet, nearly 40 years and counting, actually over 40 years now. The FBI had to frame somebody, reference Wounded Knee event, Pine Ridge Reservation, circa 1976. Federal Reserve Bank runs and owns America, along with its Zionist media partner and the Hindu Vatican. Washington, D.C. is merely its puppet illusion of mass distraction. Don't look at the right hand, look at the left hand, or is it the other way around? See, fractional reserve banking, where we are true creditors, true power of the pen. And what happens when you get fired? You get burned. See, the Vatican, for the better part of 2,000 years of burning people at the stake, what part of murder and torture do you not think isn't Christian? And then one more, franchised, a cyber code for the Free Kai or the French Kai, sounds like French fry, who are the worker bees in the New World Order, Old World Order. 2, judge, administrator, holds a franchise and a business is pretty good, I'd say. See, French Eyes, one of their hubs, the reason Ben Franklin was so happy to go there. Okay, and I've got to do one more. Francis Bacon, Sir Francis Bacon, the sire of the New Atlantis. 1, engineer of the 500-year American evolution into their new world, new age. 2, produced the King James Bible version laced with codes and reversals while standardizing English diction at that time by virtue of the book. Some actually claim that he is still alive today and uses the name of Saint Germain. Give me a break. Must be a metaphor for the Germans, right? He used the pen name William Shakespeare. See, pass the bacon, please, and the New Atlantis. Okay, and I seem to remember seeing a note up there about let me see about reverse. Ninja, didn't you say something about reverse? A certain word. That was on the Obama's speech. I don't know who said that, but I remember seeing something on Obama's speech where he said, "Yes, we can," right? And when you play it backwards, yes, we can. is my sweet Satan. He was going, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And backwards, it's my sweet Satan. My sweet Satan. Very nice, huh? They're all having a party, aren't they? Of course, with his boyfriend, Michael Obama, right? The guy in drag. Did you miss that one? Okay. What a world we have here, Mr. Smith. Yes, we are the deprogramming program where if somebody don't figure it out, don't worry, we'll help them. Let me turn on a little more light. And welcome to any of our new listeners out there today. You are tuned in right here to the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. Come on, ask Lynn, ask Ninja, ask our friends that come in here. Do we say it like it is? Come on, do we say it like it is? We I've been preparing all my life for this, okay, and it's quite a long journey of discovery and getting beaten up along the way, and I'm surrounded by Freemasons right now that want to kill me. I can't get over it. And but the Heavenly Father protects because he wants this information to get out. He wants people to know about their eternal nature and about the fallacy of this world being somehow like they get everybody to work in their slavery mills, and then they got everybody thinking about their golden years. Yeah, Gretel, we're going to get into golden years and just live out in retirement. Isn't that what life was all about anyway, right? Yeah, give me a break. It was about our eternal nature, that we're not of this world. And so I'm back in the book of Philo now. I did the introduction the other day, and I'm just going to try to glean through it. I was trying to do an index for this enormous work, the book of Philo, but it is so important. Philo is so important that I just want to go through my highlights and see if I can pick something out specifically that might be of interest to you. I've got, let me look here, and we're in the book on creation, and I'm just going to, flip through these pages and see if I can't find something specific, because Philo is revealing what's not being told to you in your pulpit or your, wherever you go on Sunday or Saturday, because they don't talk about this stuff at all. And he was a friend of Yeshua. Okay, he was mentioned by Paul in our New Testament, Philo, and then he's this was a major intellectual and individual who defined the entire tradition of the Hebrew race and what all of their customs were about in the Old Covenant. So let me see what we got here. I know as I get into it, it's going to get interesting. Moses says also, in the beginning, Elohim created the sun, earth, and moon, the stars, taking the beginning to be not as some men think, that which is according to time. For before the world, time had no existence. You see? Time had, and that's the thing. They locked it into, 6 24-hour periods. And that is not true. It's really like 6 periods is what it correctly, and Farrar Fenton got it right. 6 periods, and that's 6 great ages, and the 6 great ages basically would constitute like 6 billion years. Okay, and that shows the greatness of our Father of Light, because what's the hurry? The fact that he brought creation on through a long process is pretty obvious when you look all around. When you look around, it's pretty obvious that a process has been going on for a long time within our universe and within our planet and nature. Look at the rock formations, the bedrock, the all of the anomalies within our creation, all the evidence. Okay, people have to close their eyes real tight to think it was just made 5,000 years ago, is what some people are touting. It's amazing. So, but we talked about all that in the first parts of the program going back a few weeks. And So air and light he considered worthy of preeminence. For the one he called the breath of God, that's the air, because it is the air, and which is the most life-giving of things, and of life, the causer of the great Elohim. And other he called light, because it is surpassingly beautiful. For that which is perceptible only by intellect is as far more brilliant and splendid than that which is seen. I conceive the sun is than darkness, or day than night. There's missing a word here. I conceive that the sun is more than darkness and day more than night, or the intellect than any other of the outward senses. Okay, so there's the declaration. Our intellect is the most important sense that we have, our ability to reason, our ability to know. But people are more caught up about, playing the game, or, having the party, or what have you. But life is not about a party. People are suffering in our world. And there's a group of people organized against us that are really having a party while they're wanting to kill everybody. And that's the truth. So just moving a little further here, see if I can see anything. Okay. And invisible divine reason is perceptible only by the intellect. And he calls the image, he calls the light, the sun, the image of Yahweh. So the sun is the logo. That's what it means. It's the image. Okay. So, and I'll just put my note here for next time. That that word firmament was a good cover. Because the firmament is the sky, but when they use the word firm, they're thinking, okay, like firm, okay, give me a break. But it is the sky, which also in the Hebrew they like to call the Shekinah, the Shekinah. What they say Shekinah, but it's the Shekinah. Okay, that's more correctly how it's said, the Shekinah, and so it means the royal eye that came down. That's what Shekinah means, the royal eye that came down. What does it mean? Because the royal eye made the earth, and after the earth was formed, then the Shekinah, the royal eye, then formed all life that's on the earth. The royal eye is the sun, formed the earth, and then the sun continuing to shine down with the moon, then brought forth life on earth. Yeah, the Vatican has all the politicians on their finger, all wrapped around their finger, and they're all kissing down the Pope's big toe, and the Islam is working for the Vatican to finish off the rest of Christianity using the Freemasons and Kabbalistic Zionism and the Talmud, all working against mankind. They're working overtime. They're working real hard, and they're in a neighborhood. They're not coming to your neighborhood. They're in a neighborhood near you, and they're good to go. So there's still time to call in, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a comment or observation or question or complaint, whatever. Love to hear from you. And just don't forget that we have a morning program also, and we go through the history of the church and the original gospel read. Okay, and we do Words That Kill also in the morning, and trying to be available to answer questions. If any of you, are trying to figure something out, then we're here to help you figure it out. I've read so much. I had a library of over 2,000 books, and I just study day and night, so I can talk about mythology, ancient history, secret societies, religions, symbolism, word etymology. Thank you, Rod, for the thumbs up. Okay, so I don't want to run the program over. I pretty well covered what I wanted to tonight for sharing with you, but I do want you to remember that tomorrow night we've got premiere edition of Alan David's presentation on the introduction to the ancient cult of five and its existence in our modern world. Okay, so this is going to be rather interesting. I think you won't be bored, and give you plenty of food for thought. Okay, but Confucius. Confucius' note was Sun Tzu, who said if you absolutely want to win a battle, you have to know your enemy. Absolutely, and you have to absolutely know yourself. And if you want half a chance of winning a battle, you at least have to know yourself or your enemy. If you don't know either one of those, you're not going to be winning any battles. So put that in your cap, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to thank you for tuning in. And I'm not sure what you're saying there, Ninja. I missed. Anyway, it's okay. All the best for your mom out there, Ninja, and thank you, Liz, as well, Lynn, and Rod. Thank you for stopping by, and all of you others out there that are listening on the stream and that are coming to the program as it is now been produced. I just want to tell you, thank you for tuning in. I'm Desert Owl, telling you if you want to know the future, then you need to look for the Forbidden History. We're right here twice a day, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. TheRealPublicRadio.net. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here because somebody's got to do it, and I'm just crazy enough to think I can, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Look for you tomorrow. Peace and love. Good night. Thank you, Lynn. Don't forget to tell your friends. After all, you wanted to know, didn't you? Ninja, you want to call? You call right now. I'll take your call. You got till I'll hold it over. Are you wanting to call in? Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Lynn. Ninja, you can call tomorrow then, okay? Tomorrow's another day. Love to hear from you.